money tip. Check for freedom. Bit by bit. Joe and Megan on your side. Yeah. Visit my fully funded line. Yeah. Visit my fully funded line. Money tip.
Woo! Get fired up. Are you fired
like
up with that intro, Megan?
I feel like we just went to church with that one.
Yeah, let's just have more of that. Let's let the podcast be all of that. Well, we're here for the Money Tip podcast, and Megan is here from North Carolina. I'm joining from South Carolina. And frankly, this is going to be a podcast episode where we are going to be talking about a variety of topics. Megan, lead us along.
Yes. So Joe doesn't actually know what we're talking about. We are. I'm not trying to stump him, but I'm trying to surprise. I don't know. Be good.
Get instant reactions, real reactions, authentic
Yeah.
reactions.
So this episode, I will tell you, is a little heavy. But the title is called Gas Prices, Inflation, and the Iran Conflict. So what it means for your money. Okay. So strap in. We've all seen the headlines. We all know. But I feel like when global events like this happen, it's good for us to take this moment to look at it from how it could impact our finances and our personal finances, because that's ultimately what we're talking about, our personal finances. So, there's a lot of things going on. Everybody has an opinion. When we talk about war, it's complicated. There's real lives involved. So our job today is not picking sides, is not talking about the political side of it, but our job is to talk about how this affects economic events, how it affects your personal finances from where you're sitting, from your car, from your house, from Michigan, from, California, North Carolina, Florida, wherever you are, how it's affecting you, because we can see on the news how it's affecting our global world. But we want to focus today specifically on how it's affecting your finances. So I found this stat, and I don't know if you've heard this stat or not, but it says something that most Americans don't realize, that about 20% of the world's oil flows through a single shipping lane. Do you know where it is or what the name of it is?
Is it the Strait of Hormuz?
Very good, yeah. And so oftentimes, when conflict heats up, this is really affecting us back at home. So I want to get some of your takes on a couple of different topics and how it's affecting us back here. So the first one is gas prices. So a lot of times we know Middle East, major oil region, when the market is kind of worrying about oil supply could be disrupted, maybe the oil's not even getting through, global oil prices jump, and eventually shows up in our gas pump. I don't know if you've gotten gas recently, but it's getting a little bit crazy. So for people who may not follow global markets closely, why does this conflict in the Middle East affect oil prices so quickly?
Well, it's as you described, 20% of the oil flows through there. It's kind of hard to take your very expensive ship and move it through there when you know that armed conflict is taking place and they've been flinging, missiles and bombs and one-way drones at you. And so that stops traffic. And so the thing the market hates the most is uncertainty. They hate that. And as 20% of the supply has been taken away, there's a supply-demand curve that causes prices to go up. And yes, it shows up at the pump, but it shows up in everything. Energy costs figure into everything. Anything that is manufactured, food, fertilizer, the base inputs all require energy. And so it affects us all. So this is why the number one financial step after rung one of defining your plans, hopes, and dreams is to save money, to build margin, because margin is there for opportunities, but it's also there for obstacles. And when you have margin, it allows you to absorb these obstacles without totally being derailed. But let's say you're listening and you have not been able to build your savings. What can you do? Well, you do the same thing that happens when beef prices go up. You decide to eat more pork and chicken. and you have to flex. So you drive less, you consolidate trips, you become very particular on how you use that. And over time, you figure out how you can spend money on that less in the future. This is why the advent of Teslas and all the different cars that are out there that are, electric powered, have become, this is a spot where it becomes more valuable that,
Mhm.
I power my house now during the daytime. And a sunny day, I'm powered with solar panels. And that is a way of disconnecting from the grid. It took an investment, but the math is there that says it will make sense, and the payback is soon enough that it makes sense to do it. So I would just encourage everybody. Uh, it's not a moment to panic. There are other levers. They are drawing down from the world reserve, the strategic reserve. Um, there's something like uh, 1.2 trillion barrels, I believe, in reserve, something like that. It's a large number. And they're
It's
going to
large.
draw that down. Maybe it's 1.2 billion. We can verify it. I'm sure the fact checkers can tell us on YouTube what it is. But they're going to draw it down by about 30%, which will bring more supply back to the market. And it has already stabilized prices. Prices at one time had went as high as 120, $112 a barrel. It's below 90 as we speak. So
Mhm.
yes,
Yeah.
that's an increase of about 30%. That will show up
Yeah.
at the pump. It's gonna show up, and it's gonna cause pain. None of us wanna pay it. It's a reality of what's happening, and you and I cannot change the conflict,
Yeah.
but we can make adjustments in our personal finances to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, you answered a lot of the questions that I just had. The other one was, if they're trying to manage their budget, what are practical ways they can prepare? But you answered that
Well,
one.
what I
So,
would say
yeah.
is you don't sit there and hope. Hope isn't a strategy. So make adjustments in your budget right now that says we're going to spend 30% more on fuel. Whatever you've been spending $200, you got to add 60 bucks. That's 30% of 200. You've been spending $400, add 120 and just plan on it. And if things get better, well, hallelujah, praise the Lord, and let's eat steak. But if things happen as they are right now, hey, at least we planned for it and it didn't rob from other important things without us thinking through what decisions were best for our family in this moment. Make
Yeah, and
adjustments now. Hope
I
is
f
not the strategy.
I feel like too, it just from, like, a now this is happening, we're in March. A lot of families are preparing when we're talking specifically about gas prices, a lot of families are preparing for a spring break trip, an Easter trip, something like that, that can, put a little kink in that plan if you budgeted for this trip and you plan this much. Well, where's an area you can cut some money so that you can accommodate for that and the gas prices continuing to go up? Or is there some kind of outing you were gonna do that maybe you shift from doing that outing so that you can even have the
Yeah.
budget, to get there? It's not forever, hopefully for now. Yeah.
Life is dynamic. And if
Yeah.
you are not dynamic in your spending decisions when the inputs are dynamically changing, your costs, then you will not prosper like you could if you are dynamically making adjustments. And so we would just say if you've not been paying attention to world dynamics and understanding how this affects your wallet, well, the next time you fill up, you're going to know. Let that be the notice that that's going to be the way it is for a little while. I don't know how long. Anybody who purports to know how long is a liar. They do not know. Uh, just plan on the higher expenses being around for a while. If it's better than that, praise the Lord. But in the
Mhm.
meantime, the Sangl family's made adjustments, and
Yeah.
you know it 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 it's part of life. There'll be other things, we a lot of times we have personal events that happen in our life, right? A reduction of hours, maybe overtime was available and we had been working overtime and now it's not available. Uh, Things like that happen. Disability happens and income changes, got to make adjustments. If you do not dynamically make adjustments, and this is why you hear Joe and Megan in the Monday Money Tip podcast saying, prepare a new budget every month.
Mm.
That yes, it's great if you pre-plan every month for a year. That's great. But you need to make dynamic adjustments throughout the year every month so that you can accommodate challenges so that when the opportunities show up, you can pounce on those too.
And you mentioned this a little bit earlier, how it has, it's gas prices, but then that has a ripple effect on everything else. Gas prices, maybe there's the first layer. We have energy costs are built into everything that we buy. So we've already experienced a lot of inflation in the last few years. We all know that. We felt that everywhere we go as well. So could, maybe this global conflict maybe slow that down? How can, how can we kind of prepare for that if we're gonna feel it more at the grocery store, we're gonna feel it more, at things that are being
Yeah.
imported, exported, it just everywhere, like,
If we're
is
if we're
inflation gonna
having
take a
a
hit?
I mean, it feels like we can end up with a venting session here. If we got everybody to comment, there would be a venting,
Mhm,
a frustration, a pressure relieving, a venting of our frustrations. But I would just say that when you recognize that this figures into kind of everything, um, you can do a lot of talking about it, but when you make adjustments, that's it lets you take the power back. It allows you to to make sure that your family, hey, it may not be able to thrive when prices go up like this, but it allows you to survive so without incurring new debt. And if that's the case, that's still a win. And we want everybody who's listening to this podcast to be apprised of current, right now, relevant events. We kind of pay attention to that stuff. But we want to equip everybody to be able to make fast, dynamic choices. Uh, you're smart. Everybody's smart who's listening to this podcast. Information plus action will equal the best chance of success for everybody who's listening.
mhm. And this also can have, a ripple effect on people's finances. Um, what are some mistakes you might see people make in times like this? Or when it comes to
Yeah.
investing, what do you feel like
Yeah.
people should do when
I see that the easiest thing that people can do is make decisions that don't affect what other people, that only affect them. So I see people that will tend to say, well, it's easy to cut back saving. It's easy to cut back contributions to my retirement investments. It's easy to cut back on my generosity. And what I would just encourage everybody to do is to say, hey, there are moments where some of those decisions are appropriate. But in my life, I am I find that I am helped greatly when I personally have to sacrifice something. It helps me more aware of what's going on in the world. And I would rather sacrifice something short term for the longer term payoff. So I would just encourage everybody who's thinking about backing off their 401k or similar type of contribution, you know, to say, hey, what other decision could you make? Because that decision will have profound implications long term. Uh, because Megan, the one thing that I've noticed is the world reacts fast. Like when prices are headed up, oh, we're worried, and prices go way up. And it seems like it takes 2 days for the price to go up double and then takes them 2 years to come back halfway. And it's very frustrating that that's the case, uh, because I would rather it come back down as fast as it went up. It's just not the way it works. And so I just really encourage people, don't make a rush decision like that, because a lot of times uh, you could end up not contributing to your retirement account for 2 years. And missing out a month, not going to affect you as much. Missing out for 2 years can have just really strong ramifications for when you go to prepare for retirement.
Mhm. Yeah,
The same is true for your generosity. You could skip it 1 month and, you know, okay, you could skip it 1 month, but 1 month can quickly, you can blink, it could be 2 years. And I
right.
think you will be very upset if that's the case. So
Yeah,
I would say seek all the areas, look at all the areas when you're making adjustments.
yeah. Alright, so I feel like a few things, putting all that in a bubble and wrapping that up, but, like, emergency fund margin, having that safety, having that, so that, obviously we can't control the world, but we can control how our finances are run in our house, and we can control, if we have margin, we can control our emergency fund, we can control our budget, we can, make cuts here and there so that we can afford the gas and, do all these things. And also staying focused on long-term investment plans rather than reacting emotionally to short-term headlines. Um, Another one could be avoid high interest debt, which can make financial stress worse maybe during this uncertain time. Um, do you feel like that's another big one that people can kind of lean into of avoiding? Obviously, we want them to avoid high interest debt when possible, but specifically, during times like this, how can debt kind of play into that?
Yeah,
Um,
the
of
negative part is that the credit card is usually the easiest method in which to bridge a gap. The problem is that it's extraordinarily punitive interest rates, almost always. And so seek to minimize that at every available opportunity, if not entirely avoid it. And so
Uh-huh.
that becomes the question of, is there a way to get a second job? Is there a way to boost income? Not forever, but for this brief period of time where we're having a challenge. And because it's virtually impossible to make financial progress when you're paying, well, the average interest rate right now on balances that are not paid off every month are somewhere around 24.5%. And it's
Mm.
hard to get financial traction when you're paying that type of interest.
All right. So hopefully the next time we do a Monday Money Tip podcast, we have gas
Yeah.
prices are down.
Maybe we'll put a
Headlines
pin
are
in it and
different.
say, hey, a barrel of oil right now is $90 or so, you
Yeah.
know, uh, and it
Okay.
was going down. Let's hope that it goes back down to 60. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. So I think we have some videos that we're going to react to
Okay.
from our producer.
That's great. Here we go.
Here's how I made $70,000 this past year as a self published author. I have a full time job that pays me that much, and I occasionally sold some books.
That was
Uh,
funny.
that's funny. Hey, I will tell you that that's how I felt when I wrote my first book. Is this is not going to work, and for some reason the Lord saw it differently for me. But when you first start out, I mean, it's a gamble, and so I tell people who have a dream of turning an art into their job, which writing is an art. Writing sci-fi is definitely an art most times I don't comprehend fully. I think our producer, Jeff, might like it a lot more than me. But here's what I know. Uh, you can't sell any if you don't write it. But it's hard to write creatively when you're trying to figure out how to keep the lights on. So it's very good. We teach this in our book, Oxen and Investing, that if you kill the ox that is producing the milk, uh, then that's not going to last long, and it's going to start to stink real quick. So what I encourage you to do when you're birthing a new thing, your art, turning it into a business, that you let that mama cow have a baby, your art, and let it grow up. And once it grows up, then it can help nurture you too. So really what he's done is he's gave birth to a baby, and I'm confident it's his baby, it's his book. He birthed it from the creativeness in his mind. And right now he's still working the job with the dream of working his passion. But I love
Mhm.
it. That's humorous. I like that he has humor in the midst of it. What do you
I
think?
f I feel like that's how every person with, like, a side hustle feels in the beginning.
Yeah,
Like, I'm doing this thing, but it's not paying me yet. And then, every now and then you hit it big and,
yeah,
it starts paying the bills and you're able to stop. And sometimes it's shorter than others. But I feel like it's very real and relatable. But I agree. I feel like a lot of people who do hit it big or have a success with a small business or a book or something like that, sometimes it feels like a overnight success, but very rarely is it. Like, most of the
very
time, they're
rarely.
like, "You didn't see the years that I was,
Yeah.
not
You look
making
at these
it,"
American
or
Idol contestants, a lot of them have been
Mhm.
grinding since they're 4 or 5 years old. They've been
Right.
working. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. All
Yep.
right, next one.
We have a claim for a prescription that costs less than $4. The insurance wants to charge the patient $97.
So what are we going to do?
We're going to get yelled at by the patient. And they're going to blame us or their insurance, charging them that price, saying we made it that price. Love you, CVS.
That opens a large discussion. The reality is, the middleman, the insurance providers, have gotten a horrible name because of that very reason. Price transparency doesn't exist. It's kind of the only place where you can't get a price. And when you do get a price, I mean, you know why the insurance chain wants to charge $97 is because then they're going to say, hey, we wrote off $60 of this, so now you get it for $37. And they're still charging 10 times the price of it with a 90% margin. And this is why people are over it when it comes to insurance. It's a disaster. It's an unmitigated disaster. And I will tell you, as an employer, I didn't even connect this with it when I was an employee. I just thought, employers provide insurance. That's just the way it is. But do you know how weird it is that employers provide insurance?
Yeah.
Why do employers provide it? Like that's so weird. Like, employers make decisions of which insurance companies they're going to match to.
It is wild.
And
Yeah.
and it affects all their employees. Like when
And they
we
don't have
choose
a
the
say.
insurance provider, it affects everybody on the team. And I'm like, this seems very weird. We don't do this, but somehow we're right now. But I will tell you, I think we're slowly but surely striding to a single payer system. I believe it's going to happen. And
Oh, yeah.
we will say when it happens that the insurance companies did it to themselves. Yeah.
Mm. Yep.
And
Insurance.
Megan says, yep.
I don't like it. Just don't feel like
All
you
right,
can
so
trust them.
I think we're going to do a couple of Q&As maybe. Is that right, Jeff? Yes, we're going to do a Q&A and we'll be done today. What are my views on universal life insurance and what are some benefits? Universal life insurance is life insurance. What are some of the benefits? The benefits of universal life insurance are that it is a kind of a hybrid between term life and permanent whole life. Usually in universal life insurance, it is tied, the cash value in it is tied to an index, and they will call it universal index life insurance, UILA. And that allows people to be able to build tax-free growth within the insurance product. I would say this, for anybody just beginning in the world of getting life insurance, almost everyone would do best to start with a 20 to 30-year level term life insurance policy, just a term policy. It is always more expensive to combine universal or whole life insurance because it is combining life insurance with an investment product. And it's always more expensive. It is cheaper to get term life insurance and contribute to your own tax advantage retirement account, independent of the life insurance. The other advantage of universal life insurance is it is permanent. Like, it does not expire generally, like a term life does. After 20 years, it's gone, or after 30 years, it's gone. So those are my thoughts.
Back-to-back insurance.
Very important to have life insurance. It's a foundational element of the fully funded life ladder. So thanks so much, everybody, for being a part of the Monday Money Tip podcast today. We talked about right now relevant activities of happening with the oil prices and commodities affecting our daily life, all of us around the world, the whole planet. And we reacted to a few interesting videos. A couple of them may have got my blood boiling when I just watched them. It just is frustrating. And then I became irked and I got to answer a question that was asked at one of our live events. And so if you like this content, hey, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time with our next episode of the Monday Money Tip podcast.